She's going to throw the ball in the high 60s. She's got a 3-level rise, which means she can throw it on any plane. And she also runs that 2-seam fastball on the glove side. That's her pitch that's going to come in at the low 70s. So she's going to mix that in for a different look to try to get more swings and misses at that rise ball out of the zone.
Our head coach, Tim Walton, saying after the loss to LSU on Monday that Barnhill's rise ball was missing on Monday. It's her strikeout pitch, had good secondary stuff. But he pointed out how competitive she is. I don't think there was any question that she was going to be in the circle here today for the veteran head coach here for Florida, set to take on a Minnesota team that has 19 wins on the season. They've won 6 of their last 7. We're ready for softball on a beautiful first evening of spring. Yes, it's finally here. Spring arrived at 5:58 p.m. The first pitch arrived shortly after 7 o'clock, 66 degrees, clear skies here in Gainesville. And the first pitch from Barnhill is up for ball 1. Dwayne Henry behind the plate. Jason Smith at first. Stan Cook umpiring down at third. You see the numbers for Partain, the second baseman for Minnesota. Gets ahead in the count 2-0. Barnhill comes in with 994 career strikeouts, trying to become the second Gator all-time to reach the 1,000 mark. 2-1.
And you saw her fall behind. She threw that rise ball for her first pitch out of the zone. McKenna Partain, a very patient hitter up at the plate, did not swing at it. Here she is in a good hitter's count here, trying to get something that she can drill.
Partain with a pop-up left side of the infield put away by Jordan Matthews for out number 1. Matthews at third. Sophia Reynoso is at short. You saw her take a pretty hard hit Monday night against LSU. She stayed in that game and looks like she's responded pretty well. Hannah Adams at second. Amanda Lorenz over at first. In the outfield, it's Caraway, Voss, and Romanello from left to right. Number 1 defense in the country, fielding percentage of .991.
And we got an opportunity to talk to Coach Walton about that defense, and he said a lot of it has to do with their mentality and that expectation that every time they set foot on the field, they are not going to make errors.
In there for strike 2 to Maddie Houlihan. Left-handed hitting senior. 4-year starter for this Minnesota program that's had tons of success over the last several years. Takes ball 1. Houlihan, a Minnesota kid. Our coach Jamie Traxel was telling us this week that it was her dream to play for Minnesota. This little bloop back behind to first base, and it drops in for a 1-out single. Houlihan slides in safely to throw back in behind her, and Minnesota's got their first base runner.
And Houlihan going up there with an aggressive approach, gets this ball off the end of the bat, just out of the reach. Drops in for a base hit, and now Minnesota's got something cooking here in the top of the first.
I'll bring up Hope Brandner, leading the team in RBI with 27 at 296 on the season with 6 home runs to go with those 27 runs batted in. Ball 1. Brandner, Oregon State transfer, hit .299 as a freshman last year for the Beavers. Two and 0. See the numbers for number 3 hitter for the Golden Gophers. That's in there for a strike. Jordan Roberts behind the dish tonight for Florida as Kendall Lindemann is the designated player. You see Roberts, the junior, catching Barnhill tonight.
And Hope Brander worked herself into a really good hitter's count. She got to that 2-0 count and really got that rise ball from Kelly Barnhill that takes a little bit off of it, but it came right over the plate, and she watched it go by for strike one, and there was that two-seam fastball running inside for strike two.
Fouled out of play. Bradner has some pop with the 6 home runs on the season. Den Hartog leading the team with 9. She's on deck. Up top for strikeout number 1, 2 down.
Great pitching sequence by Kelly Barnhill, falling behind in the count, but there's that rise ball. That's the pitch that Tim Walton wanted to see. He said when he sees that pitch jumping, he knows it's going to be a very tough day for the opposing offense.
Here is the freshman, Natalie Den Hartog, 318 on the season. Take strike 1. Den Hartog given every opportunity to find her way to a regular everyday spot in this lineup, but she goes back up the middle for a base hit. Going from first to third is Houlihan. Runners on the corners for Minnesota with 2 down in the first. So the freshman continues her great play at the plate. She's someone who was a pinch hitter at the start of the season, and now she's one of the best hitters in the Big Ten.
Well, and you can see why. She shows off her power. She gets that ball off the hands. Kelly Barnhill throwing that two-seam fastball on the inside and jams her up a little bit, but we saw a little bit of that natural power that Den Hartog has, and she blasts that ball into center field, and now Minnesota's got runners on the corners with 2 outs.
Conversation with the pitcher. Brief conversation as Caitlin Kemet-Mueller steps in. See the early offense. They've scored first 22 times this season. They've been very good in jumping out, and that's something that has to be of concern for Florida because they only scored in 2 innings in their 3 games against LSU. The offense has really struggled for Florida, so they can't fall behind too far against this Minnesota team coached by Jamie Traxel.
And to go with that, I think a lot of it is putting pressure on Kelly Barnhill here. She's got to come back and try to throw that ball in the zone. She keeps falling behind to these Minnesota batters. And Minnesota's been watching film. They know exactly what Barnhill's going to throw. So she's got to attack the strike zone, try to get ahead. That way she can work that rise ball that floats out of the zone.
She's fallen behind a third batter on a 2-0 count already in the first inning. 25 walks on the season for Barnhill, the 2-time SEC Player of the Year. Two and 1 to Kemet-Mueller.
An indecisive swing from Kemet-Mueller, and as a 2-0 count going up against Kelly Barnhill, I would just be chomping at the bit in that situation. And she got that rise ball right over the middle of the plate, but that check swing fouls it off, and now you give momentum right back to Kelly Barnhill, who was on her heels just a moment ago.
Popped up, foul ground, and out of play, and the count evens up at 2-2. Barnhill, career appearance number 127 here tonight. Her 613th inning of work. So she's been in all sorts of situations throughout her Florida career. Runners on the corners to 2-2. Doesn't get the call. The runner was going. The runner actually stopped halfway to second base. Where was this pitch?
There's that two-seam fastball running inside. It looks like it just missed the inside half of the plate. Good take by Kemet-Mueller, but an interesting run over there for Den Hartog. She ended up making it to second, but slowed down halfway.
3-2 is fouled off. Interesting is one way to put it. I don't think you coach it that way.
No, I don't think that was planned. But hey, it worked out.
Watch the freshman going from first base. Going and stopping and stopping and going. Didn't come to a complete stop. It goes into the books as a stolen base. Not the fastest we've seen. That's a called strike 3 to retire the side. So Barnhill battles back, gets her second strikeout of the inning. Runners left at second and third for Minnesota in the top half of the first.
Barnhill working that two-seam fastball. We're headed into the bottom of the first.
Couple of hits for the Golden Gophers in the first, but they leave runners in scoring position, heading to the home half of inning number 1. And on for Minnesota, one of their best pitchers, Amber Pfizer, over this past several years.
Well, today is going to be the battle of the rise ball pitchers. Amber Pfizer is going to bring that ball up in the upper 60s. She's going to also throw that rise ball on different planes. The other thing that I really like about her out there on the mound is she throws that off-speed rise, so she's going to take just a little bit off of it to get hitters to hit that ball right off the end of the bat, and she also has a true changeup that she'll work in there as well. But you will see her mix speeds throughout this entire game, and that's what she's going to have to do, especially against these first two batters for Florida.
Especially the first two. As you take a look at the starting lineup, Amanda Lorenz continues to do it at .430 on the season. Lindemann at .364, but then the middle of the lineup has been a concern for Tim Walton because the run production, just getting on base, hasn't been there for Florida.
Well, you know, we talked to him about that, and I wanted to ask him about the production that he hasn't been getting in the bottom of his lineup, and he was very quick to correct me and say, no. It is the middle of the lineup that really needs to step up. They are there for a reason. They are there to bring runs in, and that's what he's expecting out of this Gators offense.
He has no concerns with the top two spots, especially Lorenz, leading the team in hitting, home runs, and RBI. 1-1. Lorenz hitting .610 in the leadoff spot. .430 overall in the season. Getting on base at a .554 clip. 2-1. Pfizer's got a pretty good run going right now. 3 straight shutouts. It's a 25-inning scoreless streak. Big Ten Pitcher of the Week. Junior from Van Horn, Iowa. Swung on and crushed, but foul.
Take a look at this swing by Amanda Lorenz. She just gets her hands inside of that ball. Her hands are so quick. Another one of the several reasons that makes her so good is her swing is a quiet swing. There's not a lot of movement to it, and that's how she's able to get her hands inside to that pitch.
Count runs full to the Florida leadoff hitter. Let's see her career numbers. Record-setting pace. Off speed and a foul tip. You wonder why Amanda Lorenz gets on base so often. It's because she finds a way to battle and get on base.
I'd say, yeah, you could say that she finds a way to battle, right? It's one thing if you're going up there trying to walk, but Amanda Lorenz is up there battling in and out of these at-bats, and she ends up working her way into these walks. And here we are in another 3-2 count to Lorenz.
Line foul. Lorenz has reached base safely in 213 of the 223 games she's played in her career coming into tonight. Another 3-2 pitch coming to Lorenz. 8th pitch of the at-bat, and she earns a walk. (201)
201 career walks. Can you imagine? It's just unreal, and that's why it's so important for the middle of this Gator offense to try to score Lorenz. There were several times throughout that LSU game where she was left stranded or she was leading off innings.
Well, we joked around. It's not that you were impatient. You just swung at the first pitch.
Yes, I like to swing at the first pitch. Get in and get out. That's what I always say.
So here is Lindemann facing her former team, and she takes strike one. I see a little bit of a smile on her face. This is just such a weird moment. In fact, her head coach, Tim Walton, asked her before this game, do you want to sit this one out because of the emotion of facing your former team? And she wanted to play.
And I thought that was very interesting that he took the time to ask her if she was comfortable being out on the field. And, of course, Kendall Lindemann's a competitor, so she wants to do whatever she can to help her Gator team win. So, of course, she wanted to be out there today. But so many emotions have got to be going through your mind playing against some of your friends that you were with last year.
That's a ball. It's 2-1. You could sense in the conversations we had leading up to this game, especially from the Minnesota side, how much was invested for them facing and trying to find a way to get the better of their former teammate. This is a line shot to left, and the Lindemann-Florida relationship continues to thrive. A 2-run home run, her 6th home run of the season. 2-0 Florida.
Well, we were just talking about the emotions of this game. How about that for emotion? Kendall Lindemann just blasts this ball. You can hear the excitement. She gets that pitch on the outer half and actually goes all the way around it and pulls it over the left field wall, again showing you how strong she is up at the plate. Just a huge swing for Kendall Lindemann to start off this game.
Well, I'm guessing Tim Walton is happy that her answer was, yes, I want to play.
I would definitely say so, and the duo between Lorenz and Lindemann has to be one of the best in the country.
Well, the Minnesota infield and the battery just got together in the circle because you could just tell. You could just feel the tension a little bit as Pfizer going up against a former teammate. You saw the reactions from the dugout. A wow from one of the Minnesota players. And so here's the Minnesota mindset. Okay, that's one for you. Now they're going to have to work on trying to get some payback as Florida jumps out to the 2-0 lead.
Well, and there's so many emotions that go into playing Florida in general. Florida always has a bullseye on their back. You know, they've won 4 straight SEC titles, won back-to-back championships a couple of years ago, so they have that bullseye. So there's already emotions coming into this game. And you just add on that you're playing your former teammate.
Got out a play by Danielle Romanello, number 3 hitter at .233 on the season. Down to the count 1-2. Gets away from the catcher, and Romanello is thrown out at first. 1 down. First strikeout for Pfizer, 119 now for her on the season. 1 down.
That was actually a very nice recovery by Ann Miller back there behind the plate to go back and grab that ball. That rise ball just got away from her off the tip of the glove, but able to field it in time and get Romanello out at first.
One down for Jordan Roberts. Catcher at .314 on the season. 3 home runs, 14 runs batted in. 3rd on the team in hitting at .314. As a team, Florida is last in the SEC when it comes to average. 2-0. Gators have dropped back-to-back games. 6 in all on the season. 2-1. Most recently, that walk-off win for LSU on Monday. (3-2) was the final. Count even to 2-2.
In the middle of this lineup, again, Jordan Roberts found herself in a 2-0 count, what Tim Walton likes to call leverage count. So a really good hitter's count. And she takes a pitch and then takes another pitch, and now she's back even 2-2, back into a pitcher's count. And as a hitter, when you know that your middle of your offense is struggling, you want to make sure you're trying to get into those counts and being aggressive once you do get that 2-0 count. You want to be aggressive on that pitch that's over the plate and try to make something happen. But when you keep working deep into the counts against these good pitchers, eventually they're going to get the best of you.
That's fouled off. Walton didn't seem very interested in making a major shakeup to his lineup for this non-conference game. He was content in just dealing with the lineup as it was, but also, like you said, just take advantage. You have a 2-0 count. You've got to get more aggressive up there. You've got the upper hand.
Well, especially in this inning when you've got Minnesota on the ropes, and you could see there that Florida was 12-2 when scoring in the first inning, and they finally got some momentum going for this offense. We've been talking the past 2 weeks about how slow the Florida offense has been, and now they've got something working here, going to try to capitalize on it.
Here's Hannah Adams, the second baseman, at .313 on the season. Ball one. Adams remarkably committed the first error of her career Monday in 96 games played, and it wasn't an error.
No, I would definitely not call it an error. I wish that you could put in parentheses next to that stat that shouldn't have been called an error, because when you look back on the replay, she definitely got her out at first. But unfortunately, it does go down as an error in the books, but I don't think too many players can say that throughout their first 2 seasons in college that they only committed 1 error so far.
With an asterisk.
Yes,
put that
yes,
on there.
Yes, put that on there.
The 1-0. Line drive, base hit. Down the right field line. Walton is waving around Roberts, now holding Roberts at third. Second and third, one down for the Gators, already 2 runs in here in the first.
Well, this is the Florida offense that we're used to seeing. Hannah Adams gets a pitch on the inside corner and drives it right down the right field line. Just textbook swing right there, and another 2 runners in scoring position for this Florida offense. And now they've got Sophia Reynoso up to bat that's going to try to make something happen here and continue this momentum that they've built in the bottom of the first.
5th double of the season for Adams, and the first pitch to the shortstop for Florida at 270 on the season is in for a strike. $11 runs batted in on the season for Reynoso. Great opportunity here, framed by Miller, but called the ball. It's 1-1. Amber Pfizer's 25-inning scoreless streak coming to a close here tonight in Gainesville. Florida has scored 2, looking to add some more. 1-2. Swing and a miss. Pfizer gets a strikeout. That's her second, 2 down.
And Pfizer setting Reynoso up on the inside half, and then on those last 2 pitches goes with the curveball off the plate. You could see that late break. It started on the plate, out of Pfizer's hands, and right at the last minute tails away from Reynoso's bat for a strikeout for Pfizer.
Strike 1 to Alex Voss. Center fielder, senior, down on the count, 0-1. One and two.
And in that game 3 versus LSU, Alex Voss was batting in the 9 slot, and she did a really good job. She didn't end up getting the hits, but hit the ball really hard out to the outfield and had some really solid at-bats throughout that game.
Swing and a miss, and Pfizer battles back. But the headline in the first inning is delivered by Kendall Lindemann.
Well, Lindemann,
no doubt shot to left.
Well, Lindemann taking her former team deep, headed to the top of the second.
When you take a look at the SEC standings, Alabama 31-0 overall, undefeated in conference play, but Kentucky with the 6-0 mark in conference. Look at all the ranked teams, including Florida, 7th in the country, 24-6. Their 6 losses have come against top 20 opponents. Saturday, more college softball coming your way. Second game of a big 3-game series between 17th ranked Arkansas, 5th ranked Tennessee at Sherry Parker Lee Stadium in Knoxville. I like to call it the house that Madison Shipman built. It's also live on the ESPN app.
I don't know if I
You
call
haven't
it
heard that before, have you?
I might say the house that Monica Abbott built. She was there before me, so I'm going to throw
She's
the
not
credit
sitting
to
next
her.
to me here tonight. You are, so I just like to take care of
Well,
my
thank you.
coworkers.
I will take the credit if you're going to give it to me.
Allie Arneson leading off for Minnesota here in the top half of the second inning. The senior heading the count 2-0. She swings at the 2-0 and fouls it out of play. Fourth batter to start out with a 2-0 count against Barnhill so far here tonight.
Well, and I really like that she was aggressive on that 2-0 pitch. She got something inside and ends up fouling it off, but that just shows you that they're being aggressive in those counts, trying to make something happen.
Another good hitters count coming up, 3-1. Count now full to the senior shortstop for Minnesota.
And that's the pitch that you want to jump all over, the pitch that's coming in about belt high. You want to try to get your barrel on top and drive that ball into the outfield.
Leadoff walk. So the Gophers have leadoff batter aboard here in the top half of the second. First walk issued by Barnhill. She gave up a couple of singles in the first inning, but left the runner stranded at second and third. Here's Ann Miller, the catcher. Miller, 290 on the season with a home run, a couple of runs batted in.
And a batter that only had 2 at-bats last year, so seeing a lot more playing time. You could see there on that first pitch that she's going to try to drop that sac bunt down to move Arneson over into scoring position.
Now down the count 0-2.
Sac bunts always look easy when you're watching them, but doing them is a lot more difficult, especially when you're going up against a pitcher like Kelly Barnhill who has that upspin. So when you turn that bat around, you want to try to get on top of the ball, because if you induce a pop-up, then you get out and your runner doesn't end up moving over into second base.
Called strike 3. Third strikeout for Barnhill, 1 down.
Nice job by Kelly Barnhill to come back with this pitch on the outside half, and it just crosses right at the knees and Miller not able to move Arneson over into scoring position, so an unproductive out for Minnesota.
We've got the strikeout counter going right now, 997 for Barnhill. Gets strike one to Taylor Chell. 5th game of the season for Chell. DP at 200 on the season. Hit by a pitch. 1st and 2nd with 1 down for the Gophers.
Well, that's exactly what Barnhill did not want to do. You get that last out, and then you come back with this rise ball right on the inside half, and it gets Chell on that elbow. And I know in that weekend with Florida and LSU, there's a lot of controversy with some of those hit by pitches, and they ended up bringing them back into the batter's box. As a batter, you have the right. You do not have to move, and that ball clearly hitting Chell on the forearm.
Strike one to Allie Linder, center fielder. Two on, 1 down. 7th batter hit by Barnhill this year. Down in the count, 0-2. Second strikeout of the inning, 2 down.
And Barnhill really just throwing the gas here. Goes right at Linders. That last pitch from Chell got away from her, but going back to that 2-seam fastball riding away from Linders, she's not able to get barrel on it. Another strikeout for Barnhill on the night.
Back to the top of the order for Minnesota as McKenna Partain fouls it off. Popped out to 3rd, her first time. Chance here for Minnesota, even though there are 2 down. Partain, called by her head coach as the offensive leader of this Minnesota team, has a chance with 2 on here in the 2nd. Up and in, it's 2-1.
Partain with a big smile on her face. I bet she's wondering, maybe if I didn't move out of the way on that one, I could have wore it and got on base.
Called strike, throwing back behind the runner, but getting in safely is Arneson at 2nd. 2-2 the count to Partain. Ground ball to 2nd. The toss over to the bag as Adams gets it to Reynoso, and that will retire the side. So Barnhill gets out of a mini jam. 2-0 after 1.5. Jordan Matthews leading things off, 8-9-1 for the 7th-ranked Gators, taking on the 19th-ranked Minnesota Golden Gophers. 2-0 here in the 2nd. Pfizer just misses. It's 2-0. Matthews at 228 on the season with a home run and 9 runs batted in. Swings at the 2-0 and grounds it to 2nd. 1 down.
And a nice job by Jordan Matthews of being aggressive on that pitch, but Amber Pfizer rides that rise ball in on Jordan Matthews' hands, and she's not able to get extended. So easy ground ball over to Hannah Adams, or excuse me, to McKenna Partain for out number 1.
They'll bring up Jade Caraway, the left fielder. And Miller has held a couple of pitches right on the corner, wondering where they are. Looks like the plate umpire, Henry, thought about calling that a strike, but it's ball one. Slow roller, tough play, and it will be an infield single for the number 9 hitter, Caraway.
And earlier this week, talking to Coach Walton, he did say that it was going to take a lot for him to pull Jade Caraway out of the lineup, and this is why she's staying in there. She gets a pitch in on her hands and really mishits it just enough to give herself enough time to beat out that throw over to first base to get the Gators something going here in the bottom of the second.
He talked about her making a mechanical adjustment as well, just trying to find a way, as a lot of players in this lineup have tried to find those answers. But he, as you pointed out, he's really liked what Caraway's brought, and she's aboard with a one-out infield single. Oh, 0-2 the count to Amanda Lorenz, who walked and scored on the Lindemann homer in the first. So important, too. If you get some production, get on base for that bottom third of the lineup for Florida. You got Caraway on there, and you turn the lineup over to Lorenz and Lindemann.
And throughout that LSU series, it seemed like Amanda Lorenz was coming up with bases empty constantly. Inning after inning, she was always coming up with nobody on base. And if you look back at that Tennessee series, Jade Caraway did a great job in that Game 3 of getting on base for both Lorenz and Lindemann, which led to both of their home runs that day.
Two and two the count to Lorenz. Out of play. On base percentage almost at 560, or slugging percentage at 791. She has been outstanding. It's been a great 1-2 punch at the top of the lineup. This one's popped up back behind the plate. Miller runs out of room.
And her stats are just so impressive. And when you ask Coach Walton about why is it that she's able to be so consistent day in and day out, and he says, you know what? She's just born with it. When you look at pictures of her from 8 years old on, she just has this look in her eye, and she just loves the game of softball. So she's constantly learning, constantly evolving to try to get her game at the top level.
Ground ball to second. Lorenz is retired. Moving on to second is Caraway. That will bring up Kendall Lindemann. This is what she did against her former team in her first at-bat.
Well, so many emotions in this game, but Kendall Lindemann takes this pitch on the outside half of the plate and drives it over the left field wall, showing all that power that she has in her swing.
With first base open, and you've talked quite a bit about the struggles the middle of the lineup that Florida has faced. Does Lindemann get anything to hit here? Anything around the zone at all?
I would not give her anything close. I would intentionally walk her, especially with first base open.
That was my follow-up question.
Yes.
Would you just walk Lindemann?
Yes, I would just absolutely put her on. You're already at a 2-0 deficit. You don't want to make that any more. I would just put her on base, especially when it's open.
Piper Ritter, longtime pitching coach for Minnesota, will come out and talk to Pfizer. And Florida will huddle up as well. Keeping it light in the circle for Minnesota. Jamie Traxel said about facing Lindemann. A lot of emotion in this game. Of course, Lindemann still has friends. Now they try to throw it outside and miss everything, so that allows Caraway to take third base.
And I think that's something that you see more often in softball than you would imagine, because you really need to practice that intentional walk, because you're taking a little bit off your pitch, trying to throw it way out of the zone, which these pitchers aren't used to. And you've got to make sure that you're not throwing that ball past the catcher. You don't want to move that runner up anymore.
Yeah. 3-0.
And it's interesting, they go back into the squat. I would just still put her on no matter what. I just wouldn't even give her a chance to beat me here.
That was pretty close to the zone, just missed.
They were going right back after her as soon as Jade Caraway moved over to third base.
So it looks like we're going to get a runner for Lindemann. Haven Sampson comes out. So Lindemann's reached base twice in her 2 plate appearances against Minnesota.
Florida, a team that doesn't have a lot of stolen bases on the year, but I wouldn't be surprised here if they try to do something with the speed that they have on the corners. They try to move Sampson over to second base to try to get another runner in scoring position here for Romanello.
Minnesota defensively 6th in the country. We'll see how they handle it if Florida decides to put a little pressure on them by getting Sampson going from first.
And she said Coach Traxel said that they have a really solid infield and they really work on that. And Partain over at second base is really the anchor for this infield defensively.
Pfizer gets ahead 0-2 against Romanello, who she struck out in the first. So the runner jogging down towards second base, trying to draw a throw, but Minnesota just lets Sampson go.
Not quite the stolen base I was anticipating. Might be one of the slowest stolen bases in softball history.
We've had two of the slowest in history. One for each team in this game. That's fouled off. Count holds at 1-2.
This is not in slow-mo. This is full speed. And we make it there. So I guess it still counts as a stolen base no matter how slow you get there.
Yeah, I think first base umpire Jason Smith's got to be thrilled. He was blowing right by Sampson with his speed. Count evens up at 2-2. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2-0 Florida here in the second.
This is a really big at-bat for Danielle Romanello. Again, we've harped on the middle of the order for the Gator offense and how they haven't been productive throughout the past couple of weekends. This is a huge moment for her to show that she has that potential in her bat, try to get another couple of runs across the board.
Foul ball. Let me remind you that in the 3 games at LSU, Florida scored in just 2 innings in those 3 games. Trying to score here in back-to-back innings playing on their home field. Good at bat for Romanello, continues to battle here. Numbers offensively for Florida. Last in batting average, 8th in on-base percentage. Another 2-2. Called strike 3, and Pfizer gets the strikeout. That's her 4th strikeout, and she leaves runners on 2nd and 3rd to end the 2nd.
Well, Amber Pfizer shutting down this Gator offense with that rise ball. Here we go, going into the top of the 3rd.
Game summary of this top 25 matchup. Second meeting all time between Florida and Minnesota. Gators, after the heartbreaking loss at LSU on Monday, jump right back out here on Wednesday. 2-run home run from the second batter in the Florida lineup, Kendall Lindemann, against her former team. That accounts for the offense so far. Kelly Barnhill hasn't been incredibly efficient, but she's gotten the job done through 2 innings. She's fallen behind a handful of batters, but so far, 4 runners left on base for Minnesota through 2 innings.
And that's the one thing that she has done well today. She's gotten herself out of jams. She's thrown big pitches when she needed it.
Eddie Houlihan bunts it foul for strike 1. Senior reached on a bloop single to right her first time. Up and in. Jamie Traxel raved about Houlihan this week. Said her dream was to play for the Gophers. She also pointed out that she and her former teammate now, Kendall Lindemann, great friends, were roommates. So there's different levels of emotion in this game and the connection between the players.
Well, and I've got to imagine that the girls are probably glad to see each other, too. Going from living with somebody to then not seeing them for basically an entire year has got to be hard, especially when you're friends. And now you got to compete against each other because both of these teams are very competitive. They want to go out there and win. So you've got to figure out a way to set those emotions aside and just focus on the task at hand.
Ready, ready.
3-1. Fly ball to shallow right field. Romanello has it for out number 1. Sampson is in right field, so scratch Danielle Romanello, as Sampson, who came on as a pinch runner, is in right field. So Haven puts it away for out number 1. Ball 1 to Hope Brandner, who struck out in the first. Swung on and popped up left field, foul ground, and Jade Caraway comes over to make the catch for out number 2. This gets a little tricky this time of night, but Caraway was able to put it away. Tomorrow we'll have SEC baseball for you, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central. 14th ranked Florida taking on 6th ranked Vanderbilt. First of a 3-game series at Hawkins Field in Nashville, right here on the SEC Network, also on the ESPN app, so you can catch it anywhere. Two down for Den Hartog. Very excited as twilight gives way to night here because the super worm moon is just now starting to peek out beyond some clouds beyond the right field foul pole.
The super warm moon?
Super worm. It's the worm moon, but it's also a super moon.
Oh. I did not know that.
You didn't know you were going to learn more than just about a softball game sitting here tonight, did you?
I did not.
There's astronomy.
Learned so much.
There's meteorology. We've got it all. There it is.
Oh, look at that.
It's exciting.
Wow.
Oh, we've got multiple shots in it, too. So I do know why it's called a worm moon. Griff was just asking in the truck, because this is when the worms, mostly in the north, here in Gainesville, it's been spring for a while, but it's the first day of spring. The worms start to peek out, and the robins start to feed on the worms.
Gotcha. I kept thinking you were saying warm, and now I really know you're saying worm.
Am I saying worm wrong?
Nope. I just thought I was mishearing you.
Okay.
I thought it should have been warm, like a warm moon. I don't know, but it's really just a worm moon. The worm's coming out of the ground.
There you go.
We're learning all sorts of stuff here.
I try. I mean, you're bringing the softball knowledge. I got to come up with something.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
0-2. Goes chasing, and Barnhill gets a strikeout. That is number 5 for Kelly.
Well, Kelly Barnhill, 1 strikeout away from 1,000. Let's see if she can do it going on for the rest of this game.
Most recently, 40 home runs in her time with Minnesota. 6 now as a Florida Gator, including 1 tonight. Really, that's been part of a bigger story in college softball, Madison. It's players moving around, transferring.
Well, we saw how much of an impact just individual players can make for a team this weekend with LSU, and Amanda Sanchez has really elevated that entire offense. A team that's typically known for their pitching. This year they are definitely known for their bats, and a lot of it has to do with the addition of Amanda Sanchez.
0-1 the count to Jordan Roberts, who walked her first time. Amber Pfizer's given up 3 hits. She's walked 3. And the count 1-2. Pfizer was the number 2 for Minnesota as a freshman. Number 1 last year as a sophomore. She gets a strikeout here, her 5th, back-to-back strikeouts, 1 down the 3rd.
A really strong pitch sequence from Pfizer. She came in with that changeup, and then right here she finishes Jordan Roberts off with this rise ball out of the zone. And because she came with that changeup on the pitch before, it makes that pitch look even faster, and that's why Jordan Roberts was so behind on her swing.
Ball 1 to Hannah Adams, who doubled in the first. Well, this is another big-time opponent for Pfizer. We talked about the matchup with Texas. They played Alabama this year. That's really the philosophy for Jamie Traxel, just trying to play the best, try to build that resume. So Minnesota could perhaps host a super if they got to that point. Ground ball to the second baseman, Partain, 2 down.
And to your point, they've played a very tough schedule, and Amber Pfizer has gotten the ball in majority of those games. Coach Traxel said that she's just a gamer. She is so competitive out there on the mound. And one of the things going from her freshman year with Sarah Grunewagen on the mound as well to her sophomore and now her junior year, she had to learn how to be a number 1. And she even told us the story about how last year she came into the dugout after one game in between games and asked if she needed to ice, and Coach Ritter looked at her and said, no, you're going to get back out there. You can't ice. You're now the number 1 on this team. So it's a huge mentality shift going from a number 2 or a number 3 on a team to a number 1.
0-1 to Reynoso. 0-2. She struck out in the first. Little soft one-hopper to the shortstop. Arneson the first in a 1-2-3 inning. The first 1-2-3 inning of the game for Pfizer. We will talk with the Florida head coach, Tim Walton, when we come back to Gainesville. Florida with 2 runs in the first with a 2-0 lead as we head to the 4th inning. Their head coach, Tim Walton, joins us now. Tim, you told us this week you gave Kendall the option of whether or not she would play. I'm guessing you're pretty glad she said yes to your question, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not like that. It's more about, just emotions and feelings, letting her know that, that I care about, her decision. And if she, she's close with both teams now. So it's really her option. But yes, 100% glad she chose to play.
And, Coach, we see Barnhill really working that rise ball today. What are you liking out of her on the mound today?
I like the last rise ball in the 0-2 count for sure. She really climbed the ladder there. But I think she's got good. Her stuff's pretty heavy today. She's got some heavy movement on the down and the up. So I like the ability for her to climb the ladder there at the end for sure.
Thanks for your time, Tim. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Tim Walton in his 14th year, looking for win number 723 here in Gainesville. And the very competitive ace of this Florida staff, Kelly Barnhill, trying to answer back after back-to-back losses with a win here against nationally ranked Minnesota. Kemet, Mueller, Arneson, and Miller for Minnesota here in the top half of the 4th inning. 4 in a row retired by Barnhill. She struck out 5.
Talking to Coach earlier in the week, one of the interesting things about Caitlin Kemet Mueller is that she's a nursing major. So Coach Traxel said that half the time she's not at practice because she's running from clinicals to home visits back to the hospitals, and being a student athlete is hard enough to juggle. I can't imagine throwing those in there as well.
1-2. And when you deal with a student athlete who balances all those things with a career focused on healthcare, the medical field, it's a little surprising that she said she's 5-star character type of kid. 2-2. Tenth game this season against a ranked opponent for Minnesota. They've won 3 of the previous 9. In on the hands. First baseman calls off the pitcher. Amanda Lorenz does her job, making sure the pitcher stays far away as possible of any sort of fielding play, 1 down.
I would say that's one of the jobs as the infielders, is to try to make sure that the pitchers aren't getting any balls that they don't need to get, and good leadership there by Lorenz to come over and call Kelly Barnhill off on that pop fly.
Swinging at the first pitch, a little bloop behind second base, and it drops in for Allie Arneson. She's on base for a second time. Walked in the second, has a 1-out single here in the 4th.
Arneson has a very interesting stance. She's one of the hitters in this Minnesota lineup that gets her foot down really early. On this pitch, she's still jammed up. Kelly Barnhill throwing that rise ball up and in on the hands, but Arneson able to get enough barrel on it to drop it right into center field for a base hit.
Everybody's got their own kind of timing mechanism, right?
Yes, and that's something that we talked to Coach Traxel about. Does everybody have a timing mechanism that they teach, or is that something that they came in with? And she said that a lot of it is something that they have come up with and what works best for their swings. And for someone like Allie Arneson, it's getting her foot down early. And for somebody like Natalie Den Hartog, it's doing that big load back with that front leg and driving in with your back leg to try to get as much power into that swing. So I think a lot of it just has to do with knowing your swing itself, knowing what works best for you, and knowing what some of your weaknesses are.
Katie Rekovich added to the Minnesota staff this year. As Traxel pointed out, this group has had 3 hitting coaches in 3 years, so everybody's got different philosophy. You got to kind of work with the kids halfway. What do you know? What can we work with? What can we change?
Right, and you don't want to come in and just completely change somebody's swing, especially if it's some of your older players. You want to try to enhance what they already have.
Popped up back behind the plate and no room for Lorenz. 1-2 the count to Ann Miller, who struck out in the second. Kelly Barnhill looking for a career strikeout number 1,000. She's got it, the second in Florida history to reach the 1,000 mark.
What a monumental moment for Kelly Barnhill, definitely getting a standing ovation by the crowd here in Gainesville, and she definitely deserves it. 1,000 strikeouts throughout her career, only behind Stacy Nelson there with 1,116 strikeouts throughout her career. But what an amazing moment for Kelly Barnhill and this Florida Gators team.
Tim Walton heads out to the circle. You get your 1,000th strikeout. Looks like your night is done.
I'd say that Coach Coach Walton's probably taking that ball so that she can frame that one. Yes, yes. He's stealing that ball. He's not letting anybody else touch that one.
He had to make sure. That's
a ball you put on the wall for sure. You frame that one, put a little plaque underneath it and say 1,000 strikeout.
Now that's good coaching right there, because Stacy Nelson with 1,116. They could name other plazas around this complex.
They might just have to name something else the Kelly Barnhill Plaza.
So there it is. There's the 1,000 strikeout ball. That was a good job by Walton to go out there and say, hang on a second, we got to take this ball out of play. So you always have that. There's strike one.
Is there a GPS tracker on that ball somewhere? Because I know Kelly's going to want that one later.
But there was the moment that I think Kelly had, wait, you're taking the ball from me. Looking around, there's no one in the bullpen. Yeah.
Looks like everybody wants a piece of that ball in the dugout.
Oh, no, they just gave it to the most responsible person to make sure it gets put in a very safe place.
Everybody's passing it off onto the next person. Not me. I don't want that responsibility.
No. 1-2 the count to Taylor Chell. $1,001 and counting for Kelly Barnhill. Florida has a 2-0 lead after 3.5. We'll talk with Minnesota head coach Jamie Traxel when we come back to Gainesville. To the bottom half of the fourth inning. Before we get there, let's talk with Minnesota head coach Jamie Traxel, now in her second year. Hi, Jamie. How are you? You want to be the best, you have to beat the best. Right. So tell us about scheduling teams like Florida and the other tough teams you played in your schedule this year.
Yeah, I mean, we feel like we're on that stage too, and we've been in every game that we've played. We had a tough schedule, and it's prepared us for every opportunity that we have, which is including playing Florida here tonight. And, 2 runs or less is a 1-inning game, and we're still in this game.
And, Coach, we know that you guys are on spring break, and we heard a little rumor that you guys had some fun on Monday.
Yeah. We work hard and we travel a lot, and we've asked a lot of these kids, and we've had a lot of adversity that this group has gone through. So I think it's important when when you can say thank you to your kids and give them a little time off and give them a break, that we do that. So they spent some time at the beach in Busch Gardens, and then we went on a dinner cruise on Monday night to just appreciate each other. And obviously we have a big game here tonight, which we're in, and then we got conference coming around the corner. So just proud of the group that's here at Minnesota, and we're still in this game, so we're kind of still focused on the game.
Well, we'll let you get back to it. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks,
we appreciate
guys.
it.
Yep, bye.
Jamie Traxel, 60 wins already at Minnesota, 41 last year in her first year taking over the program. And as she pointed out, that's 3 straight Big Ten tournament titles. So she coached them last year to that 3rd consecutive title. This is a team that is in the national conversation, and they will start to head north. They're at Maryland this weekend, open up Big Ten play, and they'll be back home the weekend after that. So why not enjoy the warmth of Florida, relatively speaking,
well,
compared to Minneapolis?
They're in those national talks because they play such a strong schedule early in the year. 3 and 6 in the 9 games that they played against top ranked teams this year. And they won their series against Texas, and they also beat James Madison with Megan Good on the mound. So a huge feat for these Minnesota Gophers to try to roll that momentum into the rest of their season, because at the end of the day, all these teams are training for postseason, and that's what this preseason play is all about. You want to try to play the toughest schedule that you possibly can to prepare your team down the road.
2-1 the count to Alex Voss. Struck out in the first. 4 in a row retired by Amber Pfizer. She has struck out 5. Barnhill has 7 strikeouts. Voss, Matthews, and Caraway for Florida here in the home half of the 4th. Called strike 3. Strikeout number 6.
Well, the crowd here in Gainesville doesn't like that one, but Amber Pfizer getting this pitch right on the outside half, and it just barely touches that corner for strike 3 against Alex Voss.
Pfizer came into the game 118 strikeouts in 98 innings pitched. Opponents hitting 163 against her. She's given up just 3 hits. And gets ahead of Matthews. Jordan grounded to second in the second.
And as this game goes on, we're starting to see more and more of those off speeds from Pfizer. She gets Jordan Matthews on that 0-1 pitch on the inside half and comes right back with that off speed on the outside corner to see if she can get Matthews to chase, but Matthews ultimately does it, and here we are in a 1-2 count.
Base hit to right field. 1-out single for Matthews.
Matthews watched this pitch go by earlier in that bat, but Pfizer tries to go back in that exact same spot, and Jordan Matthews just gets her hands inside, doesn't get it right on the sweet spot of the barrel, but gets enough of it to lift that ball into right field for a base hit.
Bring up the number 9 hitter, Jade Caraway. Reached on an infield single her last time. One and one. slap foul. Tonight after our game, SEC Inside gives you an all-access pass to the men's basketball tournament for never-before-seen footage and sounds. It all starts at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. And it's here on the SEC Network and also on the ESPN app. Two and two to Caraway.
Coach Walton had also a lot of really good things to say about Jade Caraway and said that she kind of had a slow start as a transfer, had a hard time getting production, but has really made some strides here in the last couple of weeks.
Grounded to second, the flip on the first for the out. Now we'll get Matthews over to second. And that's important because now up is Amanda Lorenz.
A very productive at-bat by Caraway. No, she did not get the hit, but she moved Jordan Matthews over into scoring position for Amanda Lorenz and Kendall Lindemann.
Hannah Sipos will come in and run for Matthews. So with Sipos at second and two down, here is Lorenz. Walked and scored in the first, grounded out to second in the second.
And now here's where it gets really tricky for Amber Fizer because, yes, you do have a base open, but you've got Kendall Lindemann on deck, so who do you want to pitch to? Rule of thumb, you never want to get beat by the opponent's best players, but now they've got him back-to-back here in a two-out situation.
Two and 0. Florida 0 for 3 tonight with runners in scoring position. That's low for ball 3. So against nationally ranked opponents, Lorenz and Lindemann have combined to hit over 400, driving 19 runs. The rest of the team hitting just above 150 with 16 runs batted in. That's how much pressure is on these top two spots in the lineup. They have delivered. It's a 4-pitch walk to Lorenz, and there is nowhere to put Lindemann.
And these two batters really seem to embrace that challenge. They like to be in those situations with the game on the line, but there's only so many times during the game when they can come up with runners in scoring position. So that's where the rest of the lineup really has to pick up the slack and try to produce some runs and at least have productive at-bats while you're up there. Try to move runners over into scoring position, move them over just even one base. You can't go up there and strike out and leave runners stranded.
Lorenz at first, Sipos at second, and Lindemann at the plate. Two-run homer in the first has accounted for the game's only runs. And that's up for ball 1. She has made adjustments. We asked her about it.
I think he's definitely given me more confidence in the box. I think that was a big thing, and just having great players around me, that gives me even more confidence. But he's just kind of tuned up little parts of my swing that I knew that I was doing it, but I didn't necessarily know how to fix it. And he has all the resources and the knowledge to kind of help me fix those things.
Well, one thing Walton's been talking about the last week, mentioned it with you again this week, is about leverage counts. And right now a 2-0 count to a very dangerous hitter in Kendall Lindemann. How does Fizer play it here? Off speed, ground ball to third, dropped by the third baseman, but throwing over to first to get the out. Kemet Mueller tried to tag the runner Sipos, missed that tag, but had time to get Lindemann at first, and Fizer works out of the jam here in the fourth. On to the fifth in a 2-run game. The SEC Gymnastics Championship is Saturday. We'll be at the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans for the first session. Our coverage begins at 4 Eastern, 3 Central here on the SEC Network and streaming live on the ESPN app. A champion will be crowned in the second session on ESPN Saturday night, ESPN2 Saturday night, starting at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. It will also be streaming live on the ESPN app. And Gator Nation knows all about Trinity Thomas. Freshman, the presumptive freshman of the year in the SEC, 5 all-around wins already in her young career. You'll see Trinity and her Florida teammates in action coming up this weekend at the SEC Gymnastics Championship.
And I got to give a little gymnastics tryout here, or shout out, I mean. Trinity Thomas, first in league history to receive a league award after every competition. That is just so impressive. And she's just 17 years old. She graduated high school early. I don't know about you, but my floor routine would be a bunch of somersaults, possibly a toe touch if I'm feeling flexible that day.
I got a little nervous because you initially said gymnastics, like a tryout.
A tryout, yes. No, I am not trying out for
Okay.
gymnastics. Nope,
Make
nope.
sure.
I would hurt myself and probably somebody else if I did that.
Top of the 5th here in Gainesville. Allie Linder leading it off. Count evens up at 2-2. New third baseman for Florida as Saipo stays in, and first out is recorded as Linder is retired. Trying to get confirmation here. Looked as though it was fouled off by Linder. So watch her footwork here. Oh, yeah, look at that left foot out of the box.
So that is that new slap rule that went in place last year. You have to make sure that every part of your foot stays within the chalk lines.
A little in between hop for Reynoso, but she makes the tough hops look easy. 2 down. So here are the details. As Madison mentioned, and we had a good look at it as her foot was clearly out of the box, almost touching the plate. Yeah, there it is again.
And that's something that you're still seeing slappers struggle with here into year 2 with the rule. Just a huge adjustment, basically taking away 8 inches.
Fly ball to right field. Romanello back in right field. That's a quick inning for Kelly Barnhill. Pitching shutout ball as we head to the bottom of the 5th. Three, 4, 5 for Florida here in the 5th. Line drive straight away center field. Linder goes back and makes the catch.
Romanello might not get the hit on that swing, but that's a huge momentum shift for the middle of this Florida offense. She gets a pitch that she can handle and drives it out into center field. Again, not recorded as a hit, but a very quality at bat for Danielle Romanello.
Here's the catcher, Jordan Roberts. Little cue shot back to Pfizer. A lot of English on it, and Pfizer cannot handle it. You just knew the moment it came off of Roberts' bat, there was so much spin on that ball. It spun right out of the glove of Pfizer, and Roberts is aboard.
I would say that Roberts wasn't exactly trying to do that, but look at the tight spin that's on that ball. A very tough ground ball for Amber Pfizer to feel. You can see that it is just spinning right out of her glove, and she's not able to get a handle on it to get Roberts out over at first base. You can see her shaking it off there. A really good pitch by Amber Pfizer gets Jordan Roberts well out in front of it to where she hits it right off the end of the bat, but just not able to make that play over at first base.
Amanda Bean will come in and run for Roberts. There's an error charge to Pfizer, 16th error charge to Minnesota this year. Fly ball to Linder. Bean's got to backtrack. Linder throws it all the way, and backing up the play is Ann Miller as the ball came out of the glove of the first baseman, Brandner. 2 down. Well, Linder's gotten a couple of good jumps on the balls hit to her this half inning.
And we've seen Florida be really aggressive in this half inning, swinging early in the count, trying to get pitches that they can drive, and just not able to get these balls to fall.
Hannah Adams is retired. She's 1 for 3 tonight. And here's Reynoso, who's 0 for 2. This is inside again for ball 2.
And Amber Pfizer's not afraid to go inside to hitters. You can see where Sophia Reynoso sets up in the box. She is very close to that chalk line, almost baiting Pfizer to throw that ball on the inside corner.
Two-0 is fouled off, 2-1.
You can see how close her toes are, and Sophia Reynoso leads the team in hit by pitches, and a lot of it has to do with how close she sets up to the plate.
Swings at a pitch out of the zone, and it's 2-2. Looked like a pretty good pitch.
That is a very close pitch. Not quite sure where that one missed. Woo! Yeah, I'm not sure where that one missed.
Here's pitch number 100. And it hits Reynoso.
You can see that she's wearing that pad on her thigh. She got hit by a pitch against LSU this past weekend in that pretty much that exact same spot. But again, it's because she's right up on the plate. That makes you susceptible to getting hit by pitches. And
well, she also took that shot while she was making the play in the field at second base.
Yes.
He got pushed back too.
Yes. Somebody tried to slide into second, and their cleat got caught and ended up getting rolled up. But take a look at this pitch. Right on the thigh, and that ball is right on that chalk line. Again, if you are in the batter's box and the ball is coming into the batter's box, you do not have to move. Reynoso is moving backwards on that one, but because that ball is over the chalk line, it doesn't matter if she moves or not. It's a hit by pitch no matter what.
Brittany Allen will pinch hit for Alex Voss. Freshman stands in and takes strike 1. Voss was 0 for 2 against Pfizer with a couple of strikeouts. Bean at second, Reynoso at first. 1-1. 1-2.
Nice pitch by Amber Pfizer. Typically, her pitches have a lot of upspin and they try to move up in the zone, but that pitch right there looked like it had downspin on it. Good pitch on that inside corner.
Two and two the count to the freshman, Brittany Allen, pinch hitting for Voss. Checked her swing.
Does look like she held up just barely. Luckily, that bat was on her shoulder. Otherwise, I think that would have been called strike 3.
Count is full with 2 down.
Allen working Pfizer really deep into the count. She's got a full count here, 2 outs, runners on first and second, so you know that the runners are going to be on the move. If she could put anything to the grass, it's pretty much guaranteed that a run's going to score here.
Runners will be on the move again on the 3-2. Slap foul.
Tim Walton, typically a coach that likes to keep his lineup solid throughout the year, but this year, because they have been struggling in the middle of their lineup, he said he's batting more like 12 hitters, which is more than he usually does. But here we see Allen coming in for a pinch hit at bat to try to get something going.
Off speed, swing and a miss, and on the 8th pitch of the at-bat, Pfizer gets the strikeout.
Well, Pfizer usually uses that rise ball for the strikeout pitch, but she goes to the off speed there, and here we go into the top of the 6th.
Tight one here in Gainesville. All the scoring on that swing by Kendall Lindemann, and that has been enough for the ace for Florida, Kelly Barnhill, to work with.
Well, Kelly Barnhill, we knew she was going to try to come in here and utilize that rise ball, and that's exactly what we've seen. Strikeout after strikeout, trying to work that ball in the zone, ends up getting her 1,000th career strikeout. A huge moment for Kelly Barnhill and the Gators team.
Barnhill gets ready to work here in the 6th inning. She has 7 strikeouts, including number 1,000. It is 2-0 as Barnhill gets set to work to 3, 4, and 5 in the Minnesota lineup. Brandner's 0 for 2. Well, you heard Jamie Traxel when we talked to her a couple of innings ago that this team is very much in it. It's just a 2-run game. They've made Barnhill work. Barnhill's had to pitch her way out of a few jams here today, although she is coming off her easiest inning. Not a lot of heavy lifting in the 5th inning. She's now retired 5 in a row, just 8 pitches last inning for Barnhill.
And going off of that, Coach Traxel said that in their losses, it was really just 1 inning in those games that got away from them. And right here, it's not so much 1 inning, but really 1 swing, and that was the swing of Kendall Lindemann.
Three O's in there for strike 1. Brandner struck out in the 1st. Fouled out to the left fielder Caraway in the 3rd. Foul tip off the mask of Roberts. Jamie Hoover now in right field for the Gators. Count has gone full to Brandner. Big hack by the sophomore with 6 home runs on the season, a team high 27 runs batted in. Belted but well foul.
Sent that ball up into the new construction over there, but Hope Brander here working herself into a really good at-bat. She's got a full count, forcing Barnhill to bring that ball into the zone because Barnhill does not want to lead off this inning with a free pass.
That's exactly what happens, though, as Brander works a leadoff walk. So the tying run comes to the plate.
And again, if you're Barnhill, that's exactly what you did not want to do because you have the heart of this Minnesota lineup coming up next. You've got Natalie Den Hartog, then Caitlin Kemet-Mueller, giving them all opportunities to try to score and tie up this ball game here in the top of the 6th.
Macy Gill comes on the run for Brander. There you see the sophomore. Then Hartog fouls it out of play. The freshman, team high 9 home runs on the season, 26 runs batted in, a big spot here. It's 1-1. One and 2 the count.
Eric, I'd say with those swings, I don't think she's just going for a base hit here. What do you think?
Native of Hopkins, Minnesota, trying to tie it with one swing. Here's the 1-2. Foul ground. Comes back and Reynoso can't grab it. No breeze right now. She just overran it, so a chance here. Reynoso does not miss much.
Typically a play you'd see Reynoso make, but that ball was hit sky high, and she ends up, like you said, just overrunning it enough to give Natalie Den Hartog another chance up at the plate.
Third time that Den Hartog has faced Barnhill. She's 1 for 2. Tried to check her swing. Looked like she may have gone. They will appeal, and they say no swing. That was close.
We've seen a couple of those close check swings, especially on those rise balls up in the zone. You can see right at the last minute she decides to lay off of this one. Oof. She might have gone on that one.
This one's popped up back behind the plate and just out of play.
Den Hartog really flirting with that fine line of those rise balls of what's a good pitch to hit and what's too far out of the zone. If it gets any higher, she's going to have a hard time getting her barrel on those balls.
Goes after it again, fouls it off again. Well, you know what's coming. We talked about it. The video that teams have of Barnhill, because she is pitched so much over 600 innings of career, you know what she does, and you know the rise ball is her out pitch. So it's coming. Yeah. Can you hit it?
Yes, exactly. And can you change your barrel angle to get on top of that? And Natalie Den Hartog trying to make that adjustment.
Great battle here, though. Den Hartog fouls it off again. You've got the 2-time SEC Player of the Year, the decorated senior in the circle, Kelly Barnhill. And you have the freshman who leads Minnesota in homers, has stepped right into the lineup, into the cleanup spot, and been a difference maker for the Gophers. Senior versus freshman. Tries to work it outside, popped up back behind second base and put away by the second baseman Adams for the first out.
A really tough battle by Natalie Den Hartog, but the senior got the best of her right there. She kept on working that rise ball up and up in the zone, and then she gets that two-seam fastball on the outside half of the plate, gets Den Hartog to swing and get that ball right off the end of the bat for an easy out.
Kemet Mueller takes ball one. Caitlin's 0 for 2, struck out in the first, popped out to first in the fourth. One and one. Two and one. 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors, 8 left on base for Florida. No runs, 3 hits, 1 error, 5 left on base for Minnesota. Pitch number 100 of the evening coming up for Kelly Barnhill.
And you know, you look back at Den Hartog's at bat, and here we are in the 6th inning. You get your leadoff runner on base. Typically, you would try to sack bunt in that situation, but you've got your best power hitter up at the plate in Natalie Den Hartog. And I'm with Coach Traxel. I would not have done a sack bunt in that situation either. I would have let her try to swing away, try to get something out of the park, and ultimately she ends up flying out, and it's not a productive at bat. But still, you got to take your chance on your power hitter.
It was a 9-pitch at bat. Freshman battled against Barnhill before the pop out. Three-two pitch to Kemet Mueller.
Minnesota really making Barnhill work for outs in this inning, getting deep into counts, battling and fighting off those rise balls that are marginal in the zone.
Barnhill gets another strikeout. That's number 8, 2 down.
And there's that two-seam that she throws low in the zone. This one has a bit of upspin on it. Kemet Mueller not able to adjust that barrel angle to get on top, and another strikeout in the books for Kelly Barnhill.
Here's Allie Arneson. Senior takes ball one. Arneson has reached base twice tonight against Barnhill. Walked, was stranded at second in the second, singled in the fourth. One and one. Minnesota had a good opportunity in the top half of the first inning. Houlihan reached on a single, then Hartog single. They had runners on second and third with 2 down. Barnhill came back to strike out Kemet Mueller. Only one runner has gotten past first base since then, and that was Arneson in the second.
And I don't know about you, but it seems like in this inning alone that Kelly Barnhill has really amped up the velocity. She was working more that off-speed rise earlier in the game. In this inning alone, I got to guarantee that she's probably throwing the ball upper 60s, low 70s right now.
There is activity in the Florida bullpen, so maybe Barnhill knows this is her final inning.
She could sense that bullpen warming up, trying to
The
get a
pitchers always know.
get a little more mile per hour on it.
It's Elizabeth Hightower out in the pen. Called strike 3. Barnhill gets her 9th.
Well, Barnhill got her 1,000th strikeout of the night, and she did not stop there. She keeps racking them up, headed to the bottom of the 6th.
The lineup is out for the 7 Innings podcast, and if you're a softball fan, you need to listen to it every week. ESPN personalities covering the sport, entertaining us all the way to Oklahoma City and beyond. And part of that lineup, speed never slumps, UCLA dominance, and Alabama undefeated 31-0 as they step back into this continental U.S. after their trip to Hawaii. 31-0. They'll be at Texas A&M for 3 this weekend. You can see the SEC rankings with Alabama, Tennessee, LSU, Florida all in the top 10.
For Alabama, Montana Fouts has just been so impressive coming into this weekend with a .74 ERA just as a freshman.
Hannah Sipos with her first plate appearance. Came in to run for Jordan Matthews in the 4th after Matthews singled. 1-1 the count to the freshman. Line drive, base hit. Leadoff single for the freshman.
Hannah Sipos, who played third base during that LSU series last weekend, gets a pitch low in the zone and just drills this one straight into left field. Could see her stay on it all the way through her swing for a leadoff base hit.
Jade Caraway's 1 for 2. Shows bunt, takes a strike.
Earlier in the game, we talked about how Coach Walton said that she had a bit of a slow start at the beginning of the year, but all it took was a different approach to her at-bats, and they worked on that in the preseason games, and it's really paid off for her in the past couple of weeks.
Slapped wide at third. Count 1-2 to Caraway.
And I think an approach as a hitter can make such a difference, and especially for Jade Caraway as a slapper, going up there, hunting a certain pitch and reading the defense. You want to make sure that you're taking a look, seeing where they're playing, and seeing where you can place the ball as a slapper, because when you're a slapper up there at the plate, you're trying to get the ball on the ground, trying to make something happen and create chaos on the dirt.
Gators 24-6 on the season, all 6 losses to teams ranked in the top 10. Trying to get back on track after back-to-back losses, and a ground ball to second. Partain to Arneson, but too late to get the speedy Caraway. 1 down.
Right there, Minnesota was perfectly positioned to field that ball. Amber Pfizer throws an inside pitch to Jade Caraway. She swings at it, barrels it up, but it goes right to McKenna Partain for the easy out over at second base.
Back to the top of the order, and here's Amanda Lorenz. Fan club in the outfield. Amanda's 0 for 1. She has reached base twice with walks. Takes strike 1. You mentioned before about how Tim Walton says Lorenz has it, that look and just that way about her, but also puts the work in. He said no one takes more swings throughout the course of the week, whether it's off a tee, whether it's a BP, you name it, she's putting that work in. So you can be born with it, but you have to work at it.
And she also just loves the game of softball. He talked a lot about that on the call this week as well.
Slow roller to second in time to get Lorenz as Partain throws to Bradner for out number 2.
And that love of the game, I think you can see it on her face when she's playing. She always has a smile out there. Of course, she didn't get the result that she wanted there, but she's the emotional leader on this team, and she's so good with her words. And he even talked about how last weekend's series with LSU, she even came up and gave some encouraging words to Kendall Lindemann before some of her at-bats.
Here is Lindemann. 2-run homer in the first, walked in the second, grounded to third in the fourth. Lindemann now with 6 home runs, 25 runs batted in to take the team lead in RBI.
And Lindemann the past few games really seems like she's settling into the lineup and finally feeling 100%. She had a knee injury in the fall, so she really went 5 months without swinging a bat. It's so hard to come back from that, not only physically, but also mentally, trying to get your timing down as a batter against these pitchers that are throwing 65 and up. And so far in LSU series and in this game, she really seems to settle in, have her timing and all of her strength back in her swing.
Two on the count to Lindemann. Challenger on the 3-1, popped up back behind the plate, and Ann Miller has it to retire the side. Last chance for Minnesota as we head to the 7th, 2-0 Florida. Something tells me he'd be smiling even if he didn't have a souvenir. The whole group is happy here. Of course, Florida's leading heading to the top half of the 7th inning, trying to knock off 19th ranked Minnesota. There's 3 hits tonight for the Gophers against Kelly Barnhill. Well, Barnhill does stay out there. 7-8-9 for Minnesota. Miller, Chell, and Linder due up. Miller with a couple strikeouts tonight. She was strikeout victim number 1,000 of Barnhill's career. That came back in the 4th. One and two. As we mentioned before, Minnesota starts their trek north. They'll be at Maryland to open Big Ten play as Barnhill gets strikeout number 10.
Barnhill just continues to utilize that rise ball, and if these Minnesota batters are going to swing at it, why not keep throwing it up there? Take a look at how high this pitch is. It starts at the letters and keeps on climbing, but Ann Miller tries to take a hack at it, and another strikeout victim for Kelly Barnhill tonight.
Taylor Chell fouls it off for strike 1. 6 times she's gone for 10 strikeouts or more this season at 45 in her career. Career high 21 at Florida State. a couple years ago.
I'd say that was an easy day on defense.
Her season high 14. That came in February at Arizona State. Ahead in the count to Chell. Florida will stay out of conference this coming weekend. They'll host Mercer Saturday and Sunday. Another 1-2 to Chell. Another strikeout for Barnhill, number 11.
You can see the movement that her rise ball has on it tonight. That's something that Tim Walton wanted to see. And this rise ball up and in on the hands. Look at that late break, jumping up right at the last minute. These hitters are seeing it out of her hand, and it looks like it's going to be a strike right about belt high. And right as they go to swing, that ball jumps up into the zone, ending up right at their shoulders. 11 strikeouts on the night for Kelly Barnhill.
And 4 in a row for Barnhill. You pointed out last inning, Madison, that it looked like Barnhill was finding a little bit more velocity. And she has gotten better as this game has gone along, it seems.
Well, and Coach Walton said that she always bounces back from games that she might not do as well. So looking at that LSU series, she didn't do so well in Game 3, and here we are tonight with 11 strikeouts. Even go back to that Tennessee series. Game 1, she gives up 3 home runs. She comes back on day 3 and strikes out 13.
Kaylin Kruger will pinch hit for Linder. Minnesota down to their final out. Now Minnesota down to their final strike. Crowd on their feet, the 1-2. Called strike 3. 12 strikeouts, and Kelly Barnhill ends the game with 5 in a row as Florida knocks off Minnesota 2-0 in Gainesville tonight.
Well, we said that Florida needed to bounce back from those losses against LSU, and what a way to do it on the shoulders of Barnhill. Check out the umpire. He is getting all into it on that strikeout looking to end the game.
5 in a row to close it out for Barnhill. 12 overall, now with 156 strikeouts in 103 innings of work this season. But maybe most importantly, she picked up number 1,000 in her career.
Just an amazing feat for her to go out there and do. Not too many people can